People not only from Northwest Ohio, but also from our nation's capital stopped to say thank you and a big happy birthday to a person right here from us in Northwest Ohio. There were people on motorcycles. There were a lot of American Legion members. There were friends and neighbors and a band and all kind of people wishing well for Roena Bays on this very special day, the day before her birthday. 101 she will be. But not only her 101st birthday, but also her service to her country. But not only her service to her country, but also for her service to the American Legion. Not only for the local post she's been involved in, but also for the post in Washington, D.C., where she served as the commander of the post and also the department commander of that Washington, D.C. area. The Washington Post is significant because it is the only all-women's post in the American Legion.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Roena. Happy birthday to you.
So quite a number of distinctions today for someone celebrating their 101st birthday.
Well, of course. I never did stand in front of a group of people like this. Oh, my goodness, my little scout friends, my community friends, our great band of Brian. Oh, my goodness. And my Legion, American Legion. Nothing can be said better than our preamble. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes. Come on.
Thank you.
Certainly been a privilege. I could not had a better life than I had with my Legion post in Washington, D.C. Post number 2. They are post number 1. Though served my purpose until I went to Washington, near Washington, to live and work at National Institutes of Health. This has been the greatest privilege one could have. I'm so grateful. I never expected this. It's just beyond my comprehension to have all of you come and stand out here and be with me on this day. There just aren't any other words. And thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
One of the people who's helped to make this possible today has been Twyla Cawthon from Washington, D.C., and you are from the American Legion Post. Number 2,
yes.
Which is an all-women's post.
It's the historic number 2 USS Jacob Jones. Yes, sir.
How did that start?
Well, the American Legion used to be split up into different types of posts for different types of groups. You had groups for enlisted people, you had groups for Navy personnel, you had groups for certain ranks. And this one happened to be the one for all women. Although women were able to join other posts, this was the one designated and still to this day designated for all women.
And was it actually the second post that was organized?
It was.
Okay, George Washington, post number 1.
And USS Jacob Jones, post number 2.
Number 2 in Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like there have been a lot of members through the post through the years.
Yes, there have. The matter of the thinking that you have all these women that served honorably, these WACs and these waves, and that they had this one place they could all commiserate and communicate together and be comfortable to talk about their experiences is unique, too, and I think it's a privilege. So, and the fact that we're able to keep this post going only because of the contribution of Roena Bay. So Roena is integral in all facets.
I don't think a lot of people, probably from Northwest Ohio, realize that she's had a big part in this post.
Roena was the one person that had all the documentation. Even the national headquarters didn't have the information that she had.
Oh my.
So talking to Roena, and she had all this stuff, catalog and data, and she had these old typewritten papers, where you punch in and the zero comes through and the one and the I comes through. She had all that, and she submitted that. She gave us copies. She gave them copies. They were able to put these things in order because she already had it. So everyone owes significant debt to Roena Bays to make sure that the history of Post 2 was preserved and that the post stayed intact, because as members died, Roena still maintained to keep that post open.
So many people came from Washington, D.C. to this celebration today.
Well, the American Legion is 100 years old this year, and she got them beat. So how many times you're going to have an opportunity to celebrate 101 years of birth with a person who is sharp as a tack in their own mind, you see, and to be able to see them, they enjoy their flowers while they can see them, you see. So it was important, and we had to be here. We just couldn't miss it. Had to be here. Duty call.
The big war. It's dedication. It's just unbelievable, the dedication that those people had back then. I've always said before that never since World War II has citizens had to suffer and only get so many shoes, so many tires, so much sugar, so much of this and so much of that because they gave their all to win the war. And it was people like this that helped that happen. Thank you. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts.
It's not often somebody celebrates their 101st birthday. And certainly not often here in Northwest Ohio we have people from Washington, D.C. come to celebrate it. But this particular person is pretty well known all around. And
I'm from Farmer.
But you're from Farmer.
Oh, sure. Born and raised there.
Is that the reason why so many people know you?
Yes.
I thought so.
Well, and so many of them are relatives. My goodness.
Well, Roena Bays is with us here. And Roena, you've got a wonderful story that you have to share. But today on the day before your 101st birthday, you've had people...
6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. You have been a very important part for the American Legion. And you've been part of the number 2 American Legion post for many, many years and have made that important. And that's out of Washington, D.C. So they're celebrating here with you as a part of that.
I know. Oh, there they go.
You had some riders.
I gotta see them.
Well, let's start off. First, you grew up in Farmer. Your folks had a general store in Farmer.
And a garage.
And a garage.
Store on this side, the garage over here.
All right.
Mother ran the garage, Dad ran Mother ran the general store, Dad the garage.
All right. And that's how you grew up. And what happened that you got involved with the American Legion and what?
Well, I went to Bowling Green State University. 2 years began teaching, Farmer, Hicksville, back from service, Farmer again, and so I joined the Farmer American Legion. No, actually, my mother, Rich Eagley, went down to see my mother, and she signed me up and paid my dues in 1945.
Okay. So she got you going.
Well,
Yeah, I guess so. Now, you went to World War II. Tell us, why did you do that?
oh, I saw this big ad in the newspaper, and my brother was going in, and Charlie Budall, who was killed over on a bombing raid, and we were both in England at the same time.
Okay. Where all did you serve in World War II?
Well, spent a year in California at Middle Air Force Base.
What did you do there?
Well, we kept track of the officers' flying time. We parceled out the parachutes to the instructors, and we kept track of where our squadron. It was a medium training center for pilots. Yes, after a year in California, I went to England.
What'd you do in England?
In England, I was with the 8th Air Force Composite Command, and we took care of the maps for the bomb groups, and courier'd come and give us a list, and we'd get those maps out, roll them up, stamp them secret. They took them back, and we kept the room for the officers' briefing room, and because we kept track of where everybody was going, and
So you were working with a lot of secret information.
actually, yes.
Actually, yes. Now, you became part of the number 2 American Legion post we've been talking about during that time. You ended up being commander of that post, and that's an unusual part because wasn't there there was a man who was a commander before you, wasn't there?
Oh, no.
No?
The USS Jacob Jones was the second post formed in the entire American Legion,
Right.
and it was
It was all women's post.
it was an all-women's post. It was the first all-women's post, but the second post formed in the entire. Well, they had recruited so many people by that time that they said, why don't we have our own post?
Okay.
So, George Washington Post number 1.
Number 1. That was for men? Yeah.
USS Jacob Jones Post number 2
For women.
for women. Right. But there never was a time when the Legion would not take women.
These folks came from Washington, D.C. today to share this with you, which shows what great esteem they have for you. That must mean something for you.
Well, they're in Indianapolis for the National Legion Convention, but they did leave the convention to come here. Unbelievable. I
understand you kept really good records of the post.
Well, the records were kept by the people who had basements, and I was the last basement.
Well, I want to thank you for your service and wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you very much, but it was my privilege to serve.